Hey everybody, this is Derek Martin from CodeOpinion.com, and this is the first in our Fat Controller CQRS diet where I'm going to explore creating a simple query. For this series, I'm going to be using the ASP.NET Music Store sample application. This is running .NET Core. It's available on GitHub. I have a fork of this repository, which I'll have a link in the description, so all the code that I'll be doing in this series will be available on that fork. So I have Visual Studio open with our Music Store application. First thing we're going to do is open the project JSON file and add a couple dependencies. These dependencies are going to be for Mediator. Mediator itself and a dependency injection package for ASP.NET Core that Mediator is going to use. So there's Mediator and the extension Microsoft dependency injection package. So let's save that. And we can see that's going to be restoring our packages, these two new ones automatically. So wait for that to finish. There we go, it's done. All right, so now that we have Mediator, let's go ahead in our startup.cs. We're going to go to the configure services, and we're going to use Mediator. So let's put it right here. So what we're going to do is services, add Mediator, which is our new extension. What we're going to do here is tell Mediator to scan all this assembly from this particular type to find all our requests, which are commands and queries, and their appropriate handlers. Before we get too far into this, let's take a look at the controller, home controller, and this index action. This is the one we're going to rewrite using a query in Mediator. So we see that there is some caching going on. We got some injection with our DB context from Entity Framework. And once we kind of build up our view model, our list of albums, it gets rendered by ASP.NET Core. So let's run this as is without any modifications, just so we can see that this is actually still working and everything's going to render properly based on how the code is already. So once we build this, take a look in our browser. And we can see we got our home index rendering. So let's jump back over to Visual Studio. Let's stop this. So let's rewrite this index. So the first thing we're going to do is let's create a folder called features. And I'm going to create a file in here called home. So it's actually not going to be a controller. It's actually going to be a message, which is a request. So our request for Mediator, we want this to be returning essentially the same code that's happening here, which we're building up a list of albums. So that's what our return type is going to be. So this type parameter for the iAsync request from Mediator, we specify what the return type is from our handler. So in this case, we're going to do a list of albums. And we're going to have no body. So this is going to be pretty straightforward. That's going to be our query. Now we're going to create our handler for this particular query, our home. So let's call this home handler, and it's going to be an iAsync request handler. Oops, one too many S's. It's going to take the first type parameter is going to be the in, which is the actual request, which is our query, which is home, and then our return, which is our list of album. So let's implement our handle method. So from here, really what we want to be doing is just taking pretty much the existing code that we had here. So we can literally just cut this over, and let's paste this into here and kind of rewrite this. So we notice that we have app settings, which were coming from the controller or the constructor within our home controller. So we're going to have to move those over. And we have some injections of our context and cache. So let's take these out, and we're going to put those in the constructor of now our home handler. So we don't need these attributes anymore. And let's make these some private members. So now that we have our context and our cache, we can fix these up. Let's see what else. Oops, one more spot here. And our context. And we have app settings to deal with, so let's get those over as well. So let's take these, put these in our constructor. So there's our app settings. And we need to be returning our list of albums. This is going to be an async call. So the only thing we're missing here is our top selling albums. So actually what we're going to do with this one is, let's take a peek at what that was actually doing. Top selling albums was just a function, just a private. So let's just, no point in having another method. Let's just take this out. Okay, delete this. Go back to here and let's replace albums with that. And I think we were doing 6 here, so. Call await. So there is our new handler, which we basically just took the code out of the home controller and are returning our list of albums. Now I'm going to jump back to the home controller and let's call this home query to get our list of albums that we can use to render in the view. So we can actually take this out, so this is no longer needed. But what we need to do is take a dependency on mediator in the constructor, so that will be injected. So let's call mediator, and we can call send async, and we're going to make a new instance of our home message, which probably is in features. It's an async call, so we'll call await, and that's it. We've basically moved all our code over to our handler. Now we're calling mediator, invoking our home message, which is our query, and then passing that now to the view to be rendered. So now I'm going to run it. Let's add a couple breakpoints though, just so we can see what's happening. We're in the index action here, and then let's go back over to our handler. We'll add one here that we can see it's actually getting called by mediator. So let's run this. And once this loads, we should hit that breakpoint in the actions. There it is. So we can step down here, continue, and now we're in our handler. That breakpoint over here, jumped all the way down. Let's see, we got our 6 albums. That's what we fetched from the database. So I can just continue, and then this gets passed off to our view engine, which then should load. There we go. So that's how we can rewrite a controller action for a simple query in our Fat Controller CQRS Diet series. More to come related to more complex queries and commands. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more .NET related videos.